And I said this to President Castro in Cuba. I said, look, you've made great progress in educating young people. Every child in Cuba gets a basic education. That's a huge improvement from where it was. Medical care. The life expectancy of Cubans is equivalent to the United States, despite it being a very poor country. Because they have access to health care. That's a huge achievement. They should be. Congratulated. But you drive around Havana and you say this economy is not working. It looks like it did in the 1950s. And so you have to be practical in asking yourself, how can you achieve the goals of equality and inclusion? But also recognize that the market system produces a lot of wealth and goods and services. And it also gives individuals freedom because they have initiative. And so you don't have to be rigid in saying it's either this or that, you can say depending on the problem you're trying to solve. Depending on the social issues that you're trying to address, what works. And I think that what you'll find is that the most successful societies the most successful economies are ones that are rooted in a market-based system, but also recognize that a market does not work by itself. It has to have a social and moral and ethical and community basis. And there has to be inclusion. Otherwise it's not stable. And it's up to you whether you're in business or in academia or the nonprofit sector. Whatever you're doing to create new forms that are adapted to the new conditions that we live in today. Okay, let's see. It's a guy's turn, a gentleman's turn. Hold on a second. That guy right there, in the dark shirt. Yes, you. No. Right there. Go ahead. You. Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead. Speak right into the microphone. You don't have a microphone. Where is the microphone? Here, it's coming. But be careful. Don't fall over. It's a little tight over there. Question, hello. President Obama, yes, I can hear you now. Question, hello, Mr. President. I am a senior in high school. This fall I will start studying. International Relations in American University at the School of International Service. President Obama, excellent. We look forward to seeing you. Question, thank you. My question. President Obama, make sure to bring a coat, though. It's going to be cool during the winter. Question, my question to you is regarding the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. I am an Arab Israeli myself. And the reality is that with an increase of illegal Israeli settlements in the West Bank, this is leading to more and more to having a binational state. Do you think that a binational state where there is an Israeli prime minister and a Palestinian president, or a Palestinian prime minister and an Israeli president is a possibility? President Obama, no, It's an interesting question. I was asked at the press conference to reflect on the 7.5 years where I've been president. Where I've been happy and feel that I've accomplished my goals, where I think I've been frustrated. And obviously the situation with the Israeli-Palestinian conflict has been an area where, despite enormous efforts on my part and a lot of people's parts, we haven't made the kind of progress that I wanted to see. I continue to believe that the only way to resolve this issue is to have an Israeli predominantly Jewish state that is secure and safe. Side by side with a sovereign and contiguous Palestinian state. And the reason I say that is because I think the aspirations of the Palestinian people for a state of their own and self-determination is too strong to be denied. And I also think that the Jewish people, given their history, have to feel that they have a state that they are secure with, and that they can preserve from aggression. And so there has been talk about a one-state solution, or sort of divided government. It's hard for me to envision that being stable. There's such deep distrust between the two peoples right now. And the neighborhood is in such a mess that I continue to believe that a two-state solution is the best way. Now, over time that could evolve. But initially, at least, I think the Palestinians have to feel like they have something of their own that they can say. This is ours and it expresses our deepest aspirations. And I think that the Jewish people have to feel safe. Now, the problem is that history casts a heavy cloud on this. Each side only remembers its grief. And has a very difficult time seeing the other side, the situation. And both of them have legitimate fears. And I will also say, though, that in some ways because Israeli society has been so successful economically, it has, I think, from a position of strength been less willing to make concessions. On the other hand, the Palestinians because of weakness have not had the political cohesion. An organization to enter into negotiations and feel like they can get what they need. And so both sides just go to separate corners. And we have worked and worked and worked. And last year and the year before that, John Kerry, that poor man. He was flying back and forth, and taking messages back and forth, and I was making phone calls. But ultimately we can't do it for them. And so the tragedy of the situation there is that until the populations of both peoples recognize the truth, which is they're going to be living together one way or another. And the question is, are you going to be living together with checkpoints and people being stabbed and hatred? Or are you going to be living together in a way that creates opportunity and hope for children? Until they make that decision, and that is reflected in the political leaders they elected. And the politics that they promote, there's very little that we can do to force it to happen. That doesn't mean we don't keep trying and trying to persuade and provide incentives. But ultimately, this is going to be something that those people have to decide on. And here's the last thing I will say, though. And I've said this to Prime Minister Netanyahu, and I've said this publicly. If you look at the demographics of the region and the West Bank and Gaza, and the Arab-Israeli population, it's growing much faster than the Jewish population. If you don't find a way to resolve the conflict, then over time you're going to have to make a choice. Do we preserve this as a Jewish state, but it is now no longer a democracy? Because if it was, then the Jewish people would be a small minority. Or do you preserve its Jewish character, but now it is, or do you preserve the democracy? But now it's no longer a predominantly Jewish state? You're going to have to make a choice. The only way to avoid that choice if you want to preserve it as a predominantly Jewish state and a democracy. Then you have to give the Palestinian people and Arab people who are living in that community their own state in order to have self-determination. And I hope that that happens. And even once I'm no longer president, I will continue to try to promote that peaceful dialogue. But I will be the first one to confess this is not something I was able to get done. And I'm not that hopeful that it's going to happen in the next 9 months. It's been 60 years, it's not going to happen in the next 9 months. Alright, so I'm going to go back here in the shadows here. I didn't even see these folks back here. Yes, this gentleman in the t-shirt and the sunglasses. This side hasn't gotten attention? Okay, you'll be nice. Question, as interpreted. The question is, taking into account that Donald Trump is one of the candidates in the Republican Party. Why do you think that the people is supporting the policies that he supports? And do you think that he will reach the presidency? President Obama, so the question was about the elections in the United States. Look, politics in the United States is complicated, just like every other country. You know something about this here in Argentina. Politics is complicated. But that's part of the problem with and the benefit of a democracy, which is, it's loud and it's noisy and complicated. What you're seeing right now is, in part, that the Republican Party has moved to the right very strongly during the course of my presidency. Now, there are a lot of reasons for that. But that's just a fact. And I think that the Republican Party because of their efforts to oppose me, found themselves taking positions that were further and further away from the mainstream. It was successful in some ways in getting congressional candidates elected. Because during the elections the turnout is typically very low, and so the most passionate people vote. And in this new media age where people are getting their info, as I said before, in sound bites. And where they don't necessarily get the same information, depending on whether they're on the left or on the right. They can decide, I'm only going to read the things I agree with already, as opposed to getting a broader opinion.